Relevant, important, convenient. This is Capital Square from ONN.
Well, from power on to education, this past week, the Ohio Senate passed new rules for keeping track of and reporting misconduct by teachers. To talk it over, we welcome from the Ohio Education Association, the Director of Legal Services, Rachelle Johnson, and from the State Department of Education, Deputy Chief of Staff, Charles C. Well, thank you very much. First of all, just bottom line, from your perspective, representing the Education Association and teachers, Senate Bill 270 it has good intentions, but do you support it from those intentions or not? Is it a bad thing for teachers?
OEA strongly supports provisions to ensure student safety, and we believe that student safety is paramount to having great public schools in Ohio. We were an interested party in the bill and have worked with the sponsor and the legislators to ensure that there's a balance of student safety. Again, it's paramount, but in addition, that due process rights of educators are protected as well.
Is one of the intents here not to allow teachers who have maybe had some type of allegation or have had to lose their teaching license in another state, not to let them come to Ohio and do the same thing here, or vice versa?
Well, I obviously believe the underlying goal of this legislation is to protect student safety. In terms of having individuals move in and out, I'm not entirely sure that this bill focuses on that particular provision.
So as far as tracking teachers from state to state who may have done something wrong or illegal, or may have, I don't know, not assaulted a student, but may have had some type of misconduct, does this allow tracking of them from state to state? In other words, if they've done something wrong in Oklahoma and they come here, but they're hired because it doesn't show up on their background check, does it address any of those issues?
Well, I don't believe 270 specifically deals with this particular situation.
Okay. Charles, from your perspective in the Department of Education, what does it offer that we don't have now?
Well, the bill greatly enhances the department's ability to meet its obligation to address allegations of educator misconduct in a couple of ways. It gets us information a lot more quickly through the wrap-back provision that will provide instant arrest reports on individuals who are in the system and get that information to the department in a timely manner, an efficient manner, where we can communicate that information to school districts if necessary, or start investigation processes. So that's an element of the bill that we like.
Bill?
This whole bill was prompted because of Mark's newspaper, the Columbus Dispatch, did an excellent investigative series showing how teachers who were suspected or convicted or who were fired or dismissed or who just quit from a district because there was some apparent wrongdoing, they were able to just go to another district somewhere in Ohio and teach again. What I want to know is, why did it take a newspaper to do this and bring this to light? Doesn't the OEA know about this? Don't state education officials know about this problem? And why didn't you take the lead? Why did a newspaper have to tell us about this?
Yeah, I'll start. You know, prior to the series coming out, the legislator had passed House Bill 79, which started to address some of the issues that you raised, specifically the circumstances where an educator would leave a district under the guise of some misconduct allegations and move to another district. So that process has already started. But we clearly acknowledge that the dispatch articles clearly highlighted some areas in the system where some gaps were in terms of collecting information more efficiently and effectively. But you know, the department had for quite some time were aware of that particular situation and had been trying to work with the General Assembly to get that particular provision which would stop what is known in the industry as passing the trash from one district to the next, where an individual may have been subject to some allegations and moved to another district. So there was an awareness, and we were working with the General Assembly. That process had started, but the series did highlight information and created a synergy around the issue which resulted in some other changes occurring.
What about the union? Why, I guess some people may be saying, why didn't the union take the lead in this?
Actually, OEA strongly supports the Code of Professional Conduct. We worked with the department and the legislature and the State Board of Education in coming up with House Bill 79 and worked with them to come up with reasonable provisions that we felt protected student safety and also protected an individual accused of misconduct. So we have been working with the educational stakeholders and the department collaboratively to ensure that we have standards that meet everyone's needs.
But you were listed as not a supporter of this latest bill, but an interested party.
Well, we support the premise behind the bill thoroughly. We believe that student safety is paramount and, again, fundamental to great public schools in Ohio. We are, however, making sure that there is an appropriate balance between the provisions to maintain student safety and an individual accused of misconduct based on our judicial process that someone who is charged is innocent until proven guilty, and making sure that there's an appropriate balance between those two provisions. But OEA strongly supports student safety.
Well, this bill has passed the Senate now. As I understand it, the House is considering pretty much the same bill. Are there changes either side here will be looking to make as this gets considered in the House specifically?
Well, we work with both the House and the Senate. You know, there were companion bills at one time that basically were doing the same thing. We work with the Senate closely to get amendments into the bill, which we think will address a lot of the issues that have been raised. But we won't be looking for any specific changes at this time on the House package. We think the Senate version did a very thorough job in addressing issues that were outstanding.
Rachelle, is there, oh, go ahead, Mark.
Just if you don't mind responding, where's the union on where the process is now in the bill as it stands?
Certainly. We think Senate Bill 270 is moving in the right direction. We've been working with the other educational stakeholders to get some additional provisions in the bill and believe that it is moving in a positive direction. We would, however, like to see some additional due process safeguards in place. For example, there's automatic suspensions, automatic revocations of license, and there's no specific access in the bill to due process in either of those situations. There can always be cases of mistaken identity or inappropriate reporting, those types of things. And we'd like to ensure that there's additional due process for individuals to be able to challenge that. We don't disagree with the ability of school districts to remove individuals arrested or convicted of those particular instances that would prohibit you from being employed in a district, but we would like to see some additional due process specified in the bill.
That's where I was going with my question is, if a student, a teenager, for example, may not like a teacher because of a grade that they gave, and then they made up some story about the teacher tried to sexually assault me or said something inappropriate to me, where then does the process start? Is that teacher then automatically suspended without pay? I mean, you have to have some ability to redress that, and because you wouldn't want that person, if indeed they are not guilty, to wind up basically looking guilty the rest of their teaching career. You don't want that allegation to stay in their file, in other words.
Right, and keep in mind the automatic suspensions under Senate Bill 270 are only if there are convictions or guilty pleas of particular crimes. Now, of course, if there is an allegation, it needs to go through the appropriate process, whether it be made to the school district, whether it be made to the Department of Education. There are processes in place, and that should ensure a thorough and fair investigation before any discipline were to be given or any discipline against an educator's license would be given.
Charles, every year, how many teachers face this kind of disciplinary action?
Well, I don't have an exact number, but we know that the vast majority of teachers in the system never come in contact with the disciplinary process. Over 99% of the teachers in the field will never have access or never be subject to the disciplinary process. But we do want to make sure that for those individuals that are subject to the process, we have the mechanisms in place to address those situations.
Before I go to the break, will this create a tremendous amount of more paperwork and adding on more bureaucracy, or is this something that the department can handle with a program already set up?
Yeah, I think what's been given to us, in the bill. And what we have in place in terms of the department structure, we will be able to meet the capacity that will result in if more allegations occur.
Okay, let's stop here, take a break. We'll come back. Much more about Senate Bill 270 next on Capital Square.